Nkosi Talk Shows family is Nomsa here at Nkosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I'm with Amanda Murray. How are you, Amanda?
I'm really good. I'm really looking forward to this topic today.
Awesome, awesome. I'm excited as well regarding this topic is embracing the beauty in every emotion. So in a world that often glorifies perfection and makes vulnerability, it's easy to feel disconnected. Mark's vulnerability is easy to feel disconnected from the truth of our emotion. So your very feeling we experience, joy, sadness, fear, love, and even anger holds a unique beauty, a lesson, and an opportunity to grow. So, Amanda, I know I stole this topic from your blog, and I just want you to just share with our audience when you were writing um, your blog, because when I was reading it, I just felt like this is so true. We don't really get time to embrace the beauty of our emotions. So it would be nice to actually invite our audience to this transformation journey to discover the power and purpose behind every emotion. And I was like, I don't need to ask her about the topic. I'm just going to steal it here if she allows me. So we like to hear, like me personally, I like to hear.
Yeah, and you can steal topics from my blog anytime you want. So what happened this year was one of my goals was to like write a blog entry for once a week for the entire year. And so at the beginning of the year, I just had like this idea of like I want to write 52 blog entries, and I like just started writing down topics, and I wrote down a topic for 52 topics so that I could get them all done in within the year. And I actually like wrote all the topics in the middle of January. So it'll be my year will be up in the middle of January. But one of them was called and it's all about abundance. So my whole blog entry this year is all about abundance and seeing the abundance all around us, because it's an 8 year in numerology, and eight is a year about abundance. And so I've been writing about like noticing the abundance around you all the time. And one of the things we have abundance of is, as being human, is emotions and our feelings. And our feelings and emotions, they're we have a plethora of them by being human. And that's one of the things that makes us uniquely human, is the ability to feel our emotions and to notice our emotions and sit with our emotions. And sometimes people really like suppress their emotions and feelings, and they don't want to feel it, and they don't want to go there. And it really isn't the best option when you choose not to feel them at all. It's best to like notice those emotions and sit with it and allow them to our bodies and our minds to process it. And I wrote this book years and years ago now, actually, like probably 11 years ago. I didn't actually publish it until about 8 years ago, I think, but no, 7 years ago, was my very first book. And I was at a retreat shortly after deciding to leave my husband, and at the time, and it was a very toxic and unhealthy relationship for me. And I went to this retreat called the Hoffman Institute. And in it, we did this meditation. And immediately after the meditation, I had this like epiphany, because I've never felt that it was okay to feel all your feelings. And I was like, wrote the entire book in like 10 minutes after the meditation. I just sat there on my yoga mat and like scribbled everything down. And the whole book was essentially written, but then I didn't know what to do with it. And it was called It's Okay to Feel. And it really is, it's a children's book. And it really just is like, I feel happy. What makes you feel happy? Where do you feel happiness in your body? And how do you share that happiness with other people? Or it says things like, I feel angry. What makes you angry? Where do you store that anger in your body? And who can help you process it? It's just like questions like that. It's really just like a series of questions about each emotion for children. And I didn't really know what to do with it. I just kind of left it for a few years, and then I started drawing pictures of it. And eventually I was my original plan was just to have one copy of the book in my classroom, and I was going to just make it on my back like you do a picture book. I think, I don't know what happened to Nomza, but I'll just keep talking. And essentially, then somebody that I knew connected me with somebody else who knew how to self-publish on Amazon. And then eventually I published my first book on Amazon about emotions and our ability to feel all of our emotions. And so essentially, one of the really good things about that book was I was able to help lots and lots of children with it, and myself as well. And I think in many ways I wrote the book for myself, because up until that point in my life, I didn't really think that we could feel our emotions, or that our emotions had any like positive impact on us other than the like positive emotions, and that like feeling anger or sadness or vulnerability was bad. And then after that retreat and that meditation, I realized that, oh, these things are actually good. These things are actually something that we need. We need to be able to recognize all of our emotions. That's part of what makes us human. That's part of what feeds our souls. We can't know good without knowing the bad. We can't know happiness without knowing sadness. We can't know joy without knowing like regret, I guess, or something like that, right? There's a yin and there's a yang to each emotion, is what I essentially believe. And that when we know one side, we can truly know and fulfill the other. And so when I would read my book to my students, and I teaching a little bit bigger grades now, so I don't always use my book with the higher grades unless I have a lot of kids who need it. But when I was teaching like grade 3 and below, I would read the book every single year, and we talk about our emotions. And I had the most interesting conversation with one of my with a group of students one year, and I was like, they're like, Miss Cottrell, can we feel two emotions at once? And I was like, well, of course you can. And I was like curious because I hadn't really thought about that before. And I'm like, can you really feel two emotions at the same time? And I'm like, can you explain it to me a little bit? And they said, the children, they're like 9 years old or 8 years old. They said, well, at birthday parties, I feel really happy for my friends, but I also kind of feel jealous at the same time. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, I'm happy for my friend because it's their birthday and it's like a celebration of them. But I'm also a little bit jealous because I kind of want some of the things that they got for their birthday. And I was like, oh my goodness, like what an epiphany that is. And then I began thinking about like other times in my life where I felt two extreme emotions, like sadness and happiness can happen at the exact same time almost, or like nervousness and excitement can happen at the exact same time. And there's really beauty in embracing even the yin and the yang of both emotions at the same time. Are you super excited to perform, but also nervous at the same time? Are like those are the ones that happen. Are you like sad that a relationship ended, but also like hopeful that the next one that you get into is going to be really positive, or like hopeful that you're like, I'm strong enough to get out of this unhealthy relationship, right? So when we begin to embrace every emotion and see that there's a yin and a yang to both of them, or that also it's okay to feel some of those ones that people push aside as being negative, there's really beauty in it. And we begin to understand a deeper understanding of ourselves. I just kept talking the whole time. No one's, I don't know what happened to you.
Out.
Can you move your microphone closer? Because you just were cutting out.
Why? How did I get kicked out?
You
Can
got
you?
kicked out. It said it was live the whole time, so I think we're good.
Oh, okay. As long as you stayed alive, that's okay, Amanda. Yeah, that's fine. I thought you were kicked out too. Oh, that's good. That's good. I was like, let me give her the host now when I come back. But if you stayed on, can you hear me properly?
Yeah, now I can. And I just kept talking the whole time about emotions and my process of writing my book on for children on It's Okay to Feel. I'm actually in the process of like rebranding the book right now, where I'm like changing the cover and changing all of the drawings, like, and just like marketing it better. But it'll take a little while to get that newer version of it out. But yeah, just the process of how I came to write that book, and then also how I see value for children and value for adults, and really beginning to see that there's value to both sides of every emotion. What do you
Yeah,
what happened for you when you read my blog entry that sparked this conversation?
That's why that's what I felt as well. I feel like understanding and celebrating the vibrant spectrum of life, emotional tempest is really, really important because like we don't take notice, like don't understand that emotions are really vital to our well-being. Some people they just get up every morning, they don't take notice of how they feel. We basically ignore how we feel, our emotions, or we make them wrong, or we label them instead of really paying attention of our emotions. And I think that is really important. And also like what you are feeling, to express it, like this is what I'm feeling right now, instead of ignoring it, and embrace it. And if it's a bad feeling, and just try to understand the roots of where does that bad feeling come from. Because that's why I liked your blog. Like when I was reading it, I was like, okay, yeah, we did get these mixed feelings, but do we really embrace them as we should? So yeah, yeah. But you wrote the book, so why are you branding the book?
Why am
you're
I
you're
reading?
you're rebranding it.
Yeah, because I rebranded the covers of all of my books so that when you look at it, like when you look at Diary of a Wimpy Kid, like, or if you look at like any person's books, like all of my books looked so different on the covers, and so now I've been like slowly going through all of my children's books and making them like the same font in the cover and like a white background, and just like making sure that they all look the same so that when you see one of my books you're like, oh, I can recognize that they're all very similar. Just learning to rebrand a little bit. But I also teach full time, and I'm a single mom, so I don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to devote to it. So it'll take me a while to rebrand that one, but the other ones were a little bit easier to rebrand because they had simpler covers and stuff. But that one has a lot of pictures I'll have to redraw and redraw them digitally because I drew them in a notebook years and years ago, and just took pictures of them and scanned them to be able to get them into the book. And so just updating it is what I'm really doing right now. And then writing and blogging. I was talking about why I wrote the blog entry, and speaking about abundance and how abundance, it's an abundant year. It's a year 8 in numerology, so it's the year of abundance, and that we have an abundance of emotions. So when you think back on maybe even on your clients, Stomza, like how do you notice like emotions sometimes that they're like afraid to embrace, or that they are like pushing down it and trying to like decide feel like I don't need to deal with this right now. I don't want to feel it at all.
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with people, like mostly you realize that people they 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 have not really dealt with the other emotions. They believe that just ignoring them is going to make things feel better, but you have to deal with the emotions. If there are emotions that you've not dealt with, you have to deal with them, because once you deal with that emotions, it helps you to actually move on with your life. Or sometimes, like you find people they've had a really painful breakup, and then you ask them, have you seek help? They're like, I'm okay. You are like, no, you're not. You're not a superman. You have to deal with things. So, and then they deal with them. They're like, I've never looked at things that way. And mostly men, they think going to a therapist is a weakness, but it's not. When you go to a therapist, you go and get help so that your relationship you can live a fulfilling life. Because sometimes the people believe that when a relationship, they feel shame. It's like when somebody's posting pictures on Facebook with their spouse, and now the relationship is no longer there, and they feel like I'll have to start again, I'll have to do this. They will actually prefer, they have these options where they'll prefer to stay with somebody even if they know that the relationship is right. Like you had to get out your ex because he was abusive, But some women, they wouldn't have that courage because they believe they cannot stand alone, but they can. It's just that finding that one person and share your life that can help you and tell you that you can do this and dealing with those emotions and just get out of those emotions. Once you deal with something, you embrace it and you know that is not your fault and you move on with your life.
Yeah, I think that really sometimes our emotions can take over in situations, right? And when we don't really know how to process them. And so I think because I'm a teacher, I think it's really, really valuable for us to teach children at a very young age how to navigate some of those emotions, because some emotions can feel like really, really hard and we don't know how to deal with them and we don't have any skills to navigate them, and we're not learning those skills from the adults around us because they don't have the skills to navigate those emotions, especially like even like the emotion of anger, right? When you're like so frustrated and overwhelmed that you just like explode. And I know that happens for me sometimes, and I just need to like, I need to walk away, and I need to walk away and just like be like scream in my head or like scream out loud, but like away by myself so that I'm not like affecting anybody else. But it's like it's okay to express your anger in a like in a space by yourself. Like maybe sometimes when you're really, really angry, you just need to go for a run or go and like punch a punching bag. Or like that there was this thing that my daughter wanted to do when she was younger, and it was like they were called like smash parties, where you just got to like go and like destroy things with like golf clubs and baseball bats. And it was like an actual thing. I don't know if it still exists in Calgary, but there was a company where you could go and you pay like a couple $100 and you just get to go into this like warehouse and destroy things. And I thought that was like it was really about like learning how to process emotions, right? And I went to the same retreat that I was talking about where um I wrote the book It's Okay to Feel. And in that retreat, one of the things that we did was we beat a pillow with a baseball bat for like 2 hours, I swear, like every single day. And I was like, this doesn't work for me. But the men at the retreat, it was like very cathartic for them. And they would like beat the crap out of these pillows and like they'd be screaming and crying. And I was like, oh my goodness, like what is going on? That form of like getting that anger out, it didn't work for me. Other forms for me worked better, like meditation or like mindful walking or doing a visualization though, or journaling processed my anger in a better way than like beating the crap out of a pillow. But for some people, that's exactly what was like, that was the best part. I remember talking to some of the guys I became friends with at it, like, oh, like I can't wait to teach my kids this when I get home, and like how it, and I'm like, this is like the last thing I ever want to do again. Like if I'm angry, I know I can process this by going for a run. I am not gonna go home and beat the crap out of a pillow. Like this piece did not work for me, but it worked for other people. And it was like amazing to see how different strategies of processing different emotions and allowing those emotions to flow through your body worked differently for different people too. So when we embrace the beauty of every emotion and allow ourselves to process it, that processing might look different for every person. And when I talk with kids about it, I'm like, it's okay to be angry. You can be so mad. You just can't punch the person you're mad at. Right? Like you can be super angry. Just don't pop them in the face, because when you become an adult, guess what? You're going to get charged with assault. So we need to learn how to like navigate those emotions so that when you become an adult, those impulses don't happen, right? And so that's some of the things like where as before they'd be people would think that it wasn't okay to feel that anger, whereas I'm saying like no, it is okay to feel that anger and that emotion. We just how we navigate those things is what truly matters. And so yes, you can feel angry. No, don't punch the kid out. Right? yes, you can be mad in the soccer game. No, you can't plow somebody into the boards, right? Like those are things that learn to navigate. And as we learn to process our emotions, we're able to deal with it every time we become completely overwhelmed by those emotions, right? And when we usually think of overwhelm of emotions, we think of all the negative ones like sadness, anger, resentment, all of those things that we like try to push away and don't truly feel or process. And I'm saying we need to process them and we need to be able to feel them, but we need to navigate them in an appropriate way. I'm not saying that acting on every emotion is okay. I'm saying that processing it and learning how to navigate it appropriately is okay. Can you think of times where you were like, oh, that emotion was pretty overwhelming for me?
I just want to comment that when you said it's okay to feel, I think that is really, really powerful. To feel, to allow yourself to feel the emotions that you're feeling, because some people they ignore them. So thank you for that. Um, Actually, last Friday we were praying. We had a prayer night the whole night, and I had my baseball thing. I was praying and demonstrating, hitting the problem to go away, and everyone is looking. Because in my church we are allowed to do that. So we had a prayer from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. So we were praying. Yeah, so we do prayer. So we pray like we have like time where we pray for problems. Like when they mentioned like the problem that I'm going through, I would just go mad. So I took my stick with me and I was just going mad and everyone was just looking at me. But guess what? Because everything physically, everything is spiritually. I got the answer that I wanted God to look to actually answer it. And he did. And I cried as well. I ended up crying on Monday because I realized actually my prayer worked, going mad. It really, really worked. So because I could feel like the anger when I felt that there was a stagnation, when I felt where I felt there was a delay, I would just get angry with that delay every area of my life. So when you say these guys were beating the hell out of the things, oh, that's what I was doing. Yeah, in my church we are
Yeah, and
allowed
so
to do.
you're saying that process works for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
was
and
beating.
whereas for me, I'm like, ooh, this one does not feel good for me at all. Not a good way for me to process my emotions, but it works for other people. And you just said
Yeah,
it's for you, which is amazing. Whereas for me, I'm like, I gotta walk, I gotta run, something that's like gonna get that emotion out of me, but also like the beating the pillow, I just feel like awkward and weird. So then those feelings of like vulnerability and awkwardness come up for me.
it feels good. That it feels so good, honestly, because we bottle things up, and then, or if we don't, when we bottle things up, we not want to take it to somebody. So for me, it feels so good. Sometimes, if I'm not with my trainer, if I'm not holding my trainer beating things, I'm with my stick. And one of the girls, the girl that won Miss GB, Miss Africa GB, she was looking for a stick. She goes, no, sir, I forgot my stick. I was like, I know I can give you my stick as a gift. That was the stick that I use to beat things up when I'm praying. And then she's taking it. She goes, after, she goes, you can have it back. I was like, you can keep it. That's your luck. This stick beats things up every day. Yeah. So how did you feel, Amanda, when everybody else was beating things up? What did you do?
Well, like I'm doing it because I'm in the retreat, but I'm like kind of would like stop and look around and be like, am I even experiencing this? Like, what is going on? This is not. This is like, but it was very cathartic for some people. Like
Yeah.
it really worked for them, and I was like, I'd never thought of doing something like this ever in my entire life, and but it really, really helps some people. And I think especially for men and for boys, that feeling of anger and that ability to just have some sort of outlet to get that out is really, really powerful and really, really healing for them. And so, and it being okay to beat the crap out of something is, you're not beating the crap out of somebody, you're beating the crap out of a
Yeah.
pillow. Right? And so, and that's like okay. And that like you can get all of that anger out. And some of the anger was like we were told to direct it at certain people in our lives or direct it at certain situations in our lives. And you're like focusing just on those things and releasing that anger and releasing it from like every cell in your body, and really embracing the beauty of being allowed to release that. And I think that's something that like everyone, I wish everyone could go to a retreat to like heal. It was about healing your childhood traumas, essentially, the one that I went to. And I wish everyone could afford to go to it, because it was 5 grand 10 years ago. I think it's like 8 grand or 9 grand now to go to it for, and it's only
How many days, Amanda?
5 days.
5 days,
7. It was
7 days.
7 days. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I bet it's worth it. It's really, yeah, I bet it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like, I don't know if you've ever been to a silent retreat, but part of that was having like days of just silence, and where you weren't allowed to talk to anybody unless you were in the class. And that really brings up a lot for people, to just be with your thoughts and not be able to do anything except scribe. You're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to, no devices, nothing. And all you have to
First
be is
you
sit with
and
your
your
thoughts.
emotions, your thoughts. My
Yeah.
goodness, that's so powerful.
Go for walks in nature. And I think too, if you've never been on a silent retreat before, that's super powerful. It was part of the 7 day retreat that I'm talking about. But even going on a silent retreat, it will really bring up a lot of things that you never thought were part of what it is that you're trying to process and learn in this lifetime. And I think that's really important. I think one time I had my students, it was a beautiful day outside and there wasn't a lot of time left of school, and we were sitting outside doing some work, and then I said, we're going to try something. I want you all to we're going to sit in a circle, and we're not going to talk for 1 minute. And I put the timer on. I said, I just want you to listen to the sounds around you. Just notice things in a way that you wouldn't notice if somebody was talking beside you. And we're just going to sit silently. And there were kids that were like, oh, that was so wonderful. I could hear things that I never expected to hear. And then I was like, was anybody uncomfortable with the silence? And there were kids that were like, yep, like super uncomfortable with the silence. They were the kids that like can't stop talking in class. Like any like moment of silence, and they're like filling it in with something, right? Because of how uncomfortable they are with silence.
Yeah,
I want everyone actually just to like think for yourself for a minute. Like, are you okay with silence?
me, I'm okay with silence when I meet people. I don't talk too much. I like to snoopy and pick people's brain.
But that's not silence because they're talking, right?
Yeah, when they're talking, I like to pick
Where
people's
you just
brain.
where you just like there's no talking. Because if you're in a conversation with somebody,
Yeah.
there's not silence. There's still communication going on. But could you just like sit with somebody for a minute without saying anything and feel comfortable?
I think I can do that. I like my silence sometimes. There are times where I just like to be on my own. Yeah. I like that, but the bashing the sticks and stuff, that's my kind of thing. If you enter my church, they'll tell you you want the results, go to Nomsai. The first, yeah.
I
Um,
think different people are really uncomfortable with silence. Like my
yeah.
ex-husband, very uncomfortable with silence. And I would come home from work from teaching all day, and I would want the house completely silent. Like no music on, no nothing. I just want to like make dinner. I don't want to talk. I don't want anything, because it was like so overwhelming of being in such a noisy space all day that I just want silence. And he would come home and be like, why don't you turn the radio on or the TV on or whatever, and just like I can't handle the silence. And I'm like, oh, I just need the silence for a little bit. Like I just need it to be quiet. I just need to decompress. Whereas other people decompress very differently, extroverts versus introverts, right?
Yeah,
So when we're embracing our emotions and the beauty of our emotions, we have to think about like, am I an extrovert or am I an introvert? Because how I process emotions and how I process my day is going to look very differently, right? And so when you think to yourself of like, how do you process? How do you process things when you come home from work? Is it like, woohoo, I've got to like, and I talked with kids about that too. I'm like, when you've had a busy day at school, do you like to just go home and have a little bit of silent time? Or are you like, woohoo, I gotta go play with my buddies and like, I'm gonna go outside and play street hockey, and then I'm gonna run to this friend's house, and then I'm gonna come home for dinner, and then I'm gonna go do this and play lacrosse, and then I'm gonna come home, and then I'm gonna go to bed, and like my whole time is filled. And introverts versus extroverts are very, very different, right? Whereas an introvert needs some that decompressing time just in silence alone, or
yeah.
doing quietly with like one other person. Whereas an extrovert, they thrive on being around a lot of people and they thrive on being the center of attention. Whereas that extrovert is going to process those emotions very differently and their day very differently. And sometimes I think we need to be aware of that and then be like, it's okay to process these emotions differently or our day differently because we're all so different. And so you might, how, when you've had a busy day, like how do you just process your day and allow those emotions that have come throughout the day just to like,
Me, I love music. If
mm,
in order for me to relax, and I just have to listen to music. But if the house is quiet, I'm okay with it as well. I always say to my children, like my daughter should put the TV and they should be holding a tablet. I'm like, could you please watch one thing, switch other things off? And they should be like, no, but I need to hear the background. I'm like, no, you don't. But I'm okay. I love music anyway, so I always have earphones. I have these maybe seven of them. In my bedroom, I've got earphones. Like here, I've got maybe two pairs in the living room. So I'm always having my earphones. I love my music. When I'm going out, I'm always playing my music. I think it's where I feel safe when I'm listening to my music, but the music has to be have good lyrics that add value to my soul. I don't just listen to anything. But then if there is a noise, I'm okay being in the crowd, but at the same time, I'm okay being on my own. So I blend in very well, but at the same time, where there's lots of people talking, I become the quiet one where everybody just talk and talk and talk, and me, I just listen to people and just pick people's brains and stuff. Because you learn things like when you don't not talking all the time, you learn a lot from people. So I like to do that. And yeah, when it comes to emotions, I like to like I'm aware of how I'm feeling when I'm feeling really angry, like when I'm praying mostly, if something makes me feel angry, everybody would know. Even my church now, when we were doing the overnight prayer, I realized they all started going uh, wonderful praying like normal people, because you can't say like if you're praying for your business and then you go to the prayer altar and you pray cute, your emotions has to show you are fed up with that problem. So for me, if I'm tired of being tired, guys, it means I'm tired. If I'm tired of delay, I'm tired. My emotions it has to show. If I have to cry, I have to like pray the cry so God can hear me. And he will be like, no, Mr. Okay, I hear you. I hear your prayer. So that's my belief that if I'm going through something, emotions, I have to let my emotions know that I'm aware and just dealing with them. I don't ignore my pain, or I don't ignore if it's glory. I got to be happy. I'm happy. So that's nice. But you work with children, Amanda. How as a teacher, how do you deal with the, because in the class you might have like 30 children, or how do you deal with those different emotions? Because to me, I think just dealing with my two kids, that's enough. And if you are every day, how do you deal with it as a teacher?
Kids always show up differently in the classroom versus what they do at home, right? And so at home, like even with my child, the student, like their teachers are like, or her teachers are like, oh, they're so wonderful. She's
It is super great.
like has complete meltdowns, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with you? Whereas like, and I see the same in the classroom too, but there definitely is kids who have big emotions and struggle with their emotions and find ways to navigate it. And sometimes I'm just like, just go for a walk, go to the bathroom, come back and then if you need some space or time. But I think sometimes too, kids just need time to process. And I used to have some really funny conversations with a bunch of my boys last year who were playing soccer or football in the UK, you call it. They, because I'm from Canada, so we call it soccer because football, American football is different. Um, but they would get so angry with each other and get physical, and then just be like so angry and come back into class so angry, and we'd have like really good conversations and about how to process that anger that happens on the soccer field. And because I still play soccer too, and with a co-ed team with I play with men as and women, it's really fun to play indoor soccer on a co-ed team. But I said, like, as an adult you cannot kick or punch or hit or anything like that when you're playing soccer. Otherwise, you'll get charged. Like you'll get charged like $500. And so, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So guess what? At this age, you have to learn how to process that better so that when you become my age and you're playing, you don't end up getting like banned and charged and like so we have to find better ways right now while you're young to learn how to navigate this. So we'd always like talk through what are different ways that we can deal with those like emotions when they completely overwhelm us and we like see black or we see red, right? Or those like when we see those really angry emotions, like how can we navigate it? We can just walk away. We can walk away and scream. We can run and tell the teacher. We can go and like do whatever it is that we need to do that's not going to be physical with another child, right? Or screaming inappropriate things at another child. So like learning how to navigate those things. But even as adults, like sometimes we, in that overwhelming like emotion in the second, we can't process that. That's why we have road rage, right? Like my daughter's always like, you have road rage, mom, where I'm like, what is this idiot doing? And I'm like, but I'm yelling it in my car by myself, but she's in the car. I'm like, just wait until you drive. When you drive, you will see why I'm so frustrated with this person who's like not even at the stoplight, stopped in the middle of the road. I'm like, you're not going to hit the sensor. Like, you got to move up, man. The light's never gonna change. That's what happened like 2 days ago, or like in the park, in like trying to go into the parking lot, and this car left like 2 car lengths away from the stoplight, and then like you're not gonna hit the sensor. The light's never gonna change. So I literally just went around him and then like made sure my car hit the sensor so the light would change. Like she's like, why are you yelling at that person? I'm like, because like but the light's never gonna change if we all just sit here. Like, does this person not know how to drive? But I'm like so angry at the moment and like not just like trying to process, right? Like I didn't get
Yeah.
out of the car and go and yell at that person. I just drove around them when it was safe and made sure my car could hit the sensor. And then they must have been playing on their phone or something and just not realized that those like emotions come up very quickly sometimes. And even as adults, we can see those emotions come up very quickly too, right? And then we feel bad about them sometimes as well. And I always laugh at those memes that are like, I'm so zen and like go to yoga and meditate. And then the minute I get in the car and there's a terrible driver, I'm like road rage.
Becomes that.
Like, oh my God, that's me 100%. I got this. I got this. I'm in control of my thoughts. I mean, what is that idiot doing? Right? So yeah, I think like do you notice those things come up for you too? Like do you
Oh, I
ever
don't go to Reg.
yeah.
Me? No, I don't. But Martin does. Like, if you go into the car with him, he just goes in a rage. I'm like, you do realize that person cannot hear you. So what? So just come down, come down, come down. It's like I'm like they're driving, the windows are closed, they can't hear you. Just he goes into a rage, and I'm like, oh my God. And my daughter goes, okay, I'm gonna go into his car. I've got to breathe. I'm going to breathe. He's a good driver, but when it comes to other people driving, I'm like, just never mind people, just mind your own business. If somebody is a bad driver, don't tell them off because they can't hear you. Oh, he goes off. I'm like, okay. So every time he goes off, I'll be thinking of you. I'll be like,
I
I'll
don't
bet.
often, but it's when something's like really stupid. Usually, but I prefer to be the passenger in the car. I don't really love to drive, but I drive, but I don't love it. But um it is true. And even I think sometimes when you're the driver, it's more like you're like more frustrated than when you're the passenger, because when you're the driver, you're like really have to be aware of everything that's going on around you. And then you're responsible for everybody else in the car too. So it's like that intensity of being responsible for everyone and then escalates the like how emotions affect you when other people are not driving properly, right? But I do think that there's beauty in every emotion, even when you are frustrated in the car, right? Because it's like, I know the person can't hear me. I am frustrated. Thank goodness the person can't hear me, because you probably have more like domestic disputes or like people raging in the street if they could hear each other talking about how terrible their driving is. Could you imagine if there was like loudspeakers on cars and people could yell what they're really thinking? Oh, we would not have a very intense society.
No, we don't have a good day. So,
If
yeah.
people could read your mind when you're driving, that would not be the best thing.
Yeah, but it's sometimes it's nice to express your feelings. Like if you're feeling the rage. Me, I don't know how to feel the rage. I just ignore. I just like, you know what? I don't have control over this. I'm more calm. Even my daughter said, "Mommy, you are more calm." She says, "Mommy, you accept people for who they are." I don't know. I don't know how to go into that rage mood. I was telling their dad yesterday, he was getting upset with something. I don't know. He was talking to the phone, or who he was talking to, like talking to the things, like he was saying people should do this, and he was going into. And I said, just calm down. Will you just calm down and just? And then he was like, how do I calm down? I was like, just calm down. Sometimes there's some things you don't have to react to it. So I don't know. I just maybe it's because I fast a lot. So I lost the wheel of that rage.
Maybe.
I lost the wheel. I can't go into a rage. It's like if things go wrong, Amanda, I'm like, you know what? Okay. I just go into this, it's like a shock. I'm like, okay, this is what is happening right now. Okay, so I just get aware of my feelings and stuff. Or if I'm stuck in the traffic, I just play good music. Who play good music? But oh, Martin who just goes into a rage. You see, he's an idiot. How is he driving? I was like, just never mind him, mind your own business. But sometimes it's nice to see different people going through different emotions, and I think it's really, really good. I think what destroys people is when people don't express what they are feeling, even in relationship. I think it's good to celebrate that joy and gratitude and celebrating who you are, like Amanda on your uh, blog, like celebrate your emotions and be aware of them, allow them these mixed emotions, and just like if you're not feeling okay, you're not feeling okay. So I was thinking about it like yesterday. I was like, when I was reading it, I was like, that's how sometimes people do. They don't really take notice of what they are feeling. They go each day ignoring who they are, ignoring their emotions, their feelings, until maybe things go wrong and then they step and they're like, oh, okay. So
Mhm.
it is nice to actually embrace your
I,
emotions.
yeah, well, I think sometimes we don't even think about our emotions, right? Like we don't process it. When you wake up in the morning, do you like take a second to think about how you're feeling or how you rested through the night or how you're like waking up ready to like embrace the day or dread the day? Or do we just get up and do like our habits without really even like being conscious of being inside our bodies? We just get up and go through the motions of each and every day without really like processing how it is that we're feeling. And so I think it would be really valuable for people to like wake up in the morning and just journal for a few minutes about like how they're feeling in their body. Take a like 30 seconds or 5 minutes to just like breathe and set yourself up and notice how your physical body's feeling. Notice how your emotional body's feeling. Notice how your spiritual body's feeling. And just like how is your true self feeling in this moment? And then notice how you feel throughout the day. And then just like even like jot it down in the notes on your phone. I'm feeling really frustrated because this person in the car ahead of me didn't like, this was my frustration for the day. This was when I really was not in control of my emotions. And then reflect on that at the end of the day, right? And then notice how those patterns continue to show up. And then are you doing anything like beating a pillow with a baseball bat to like process that anger? Or are you just like suppressing it and like moving on, suppress, move on, suppress, move on? And I think when we really start to become conscious of our emotions and conscious of what it is that's driving us and how our emotions sometimes too can be part of our habitual patterns, that things will start to change, right? Because how we feel inside is truly a reflection of everything else that's going on around you, which is why I chose to look at abundance for this entire year, and abundance in like many different areas through my blog. It's called like the year of abundance, and everything is about seeing abundance all around you. And this week's or blog entry was about seeing the abundance of emotions that you have for being human. I don't know that other animals feel emotions the same way that we do. So being human is a unique experience that we can embrace. All of the hardships, all of the love, all of the like joy and inspiration that we have all around us all the time. And then are we choosing to truly see that? And if we're not choosing to truly see that, what is blocking us from being able to see that?
Yeah, you are right, Amanda. We have to allow ourselves to actually see our feelings and see things around us as well. That's really, really, really important to actually embrace who we are becoming. And then also, I think it's the awareness of our daily living life. There are some people who just get up in the morning, they will do their daily habits. There's no meaning to it. They are doing it because they've read a book. They're doing it because they're watching gossip talk shows. For me, I put a meaning to it, and that's why when I whatever I do, I put a meaning to it. And but I never used to be like that. So if I'm discussing things, like I'm thinking about something, I have to be aware, how does that make me feel? Like before I came here online, I was thinking about something and I just went to a rage with the ancestors and I was like, back off. I was talking about like realizing like my stepmom's children, how their lives has been, because now I'm fasting, I'm evaluating my life. So I was just telling them to back off, because sometimes ancestors can interfere with your life. But some people, they think it's okay to interact with the dead, but I think the dead has to remain dead, because when you interact with them, that character of a person, if they were abusive, they will abuse you as well in the physically. So I was like going into a rage with things like that. So you have to be aware with your daily life. You have to, because sometimes our intelligence can be blocked just by the environment that we are on, and also because we are suppressing our feeling, our emotions. We don't want to feel it. But if you allow yourself, you don't feel okay, you don't feel okay. If you don't feel this, you don't feel this. So sometimes the people, they go through pain, they go through all these things because they don't allow themselves. They want to show up how they are expected by people. It doesn't work.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, people wants to show up and make people happy, but inside they are miserable. But allow yourself to feel those your emotions and just be aware of what is happening. And if you're somebody, like you were saying, you couldn't beat the stick. If somebody didn't like that, some people, they pretend, but you don't have to do that. So I think that's important. Any words of encouragement, Amanda? This topic has actually been great. I'm just gonna go now. I'm not gonna bother with the topic. I'm just gonna go to your blogs.
Forget what I'm writing about this week. I just started writing. I'm gonna look really quickly. Oh no, I don't have it up yet. But yeah, I have started writing my next one. I just forget what I'm like brain dead about the topic until I look at what I wrote down. But yeah, I think that this topic has been really great because it allows us to process. And I think for me, like the first time I ever realized that it was okay to feel all of our emotions was at 31 years old when I was in a retreat and getting divorced and trying to like finally realize like, oh, it's okay to be angry about all of these things that have happened. It's okay to feel joy about all of these things that have happened. It's okay to be proud of myself for how far I've come. It's like, and I didn't realize that ever. It was like not even in my consciousness until after that retreat and in that moment. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to feel certain feelings out of fear that we're bad if we feel those feelings. And you're not bad if you feel those feelings. It's part of being human. The only time it's bad is if it's like bop somebody else in the face, right? Like I tell the kids, it's not bad to feel the feeling. It's how we learn how to navigate those feelings that really truly allows us to heal and process and be fully conscious of who we are in this human experience.
Yeah, it's you do journaling a lot, guys. If you're struggling to, like Amanda, you mentioned the silence. If you are somebody who struggle to stay in the silence, because the silence can bring the awareness of what you're feeling, just do journaling, and the meditation is really, really important. If you never tried fasting, try to fast. Fasting, it helps you to stay focused and stay away from the rage, driving cars. Yeah, so I just embrace your emotions. If you're not feeling okay, don't make them wrong. Carol I'll always say, never make you wrong. Just embrace it and just know that everything is gonna be okay. As long as you face them and you deal with them, you hit the stick, you journal, you do all these things, you go for a walk, like Amanda does. She can't do the stick beating, but she can go for a walk in the nature and just be in that place. That's beautiful. So if guys, if you're watching us from YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel, and LinkedIn, subscribe and share, and Facebook as well. We have two groups. Please do join our groups as well: Unique Billionaire Mindset and Gossip Talk Shows. And on the website as well is www.hseia.coach. You can, if you're looking for love, please do sign up. If you're looking for coaching, please do make some inquiries. We have different coaches from all walks of life, and the coaches are on the website. And also, you watch us every day, so you can pick who you want to coach you. Live with grace, everyone, and